Guten Abend und herzlich willkommen zu einem Arsenal podcast. Hello and welcome to this Sunday Funday special edition of an Arsenal Fan TV podcast, more packed than the boxes under Tim Sherwood's desk, with me, your host at large, Andrew, aka PR Who Are You? Unfortunately, Giles has gone MIA tonight because amidst his utter disgust at Arsenal's inability to secure victory on home soil against a rip-roaring Monaco. So I'm joined by a quadrumvirate of the Arsenal fan elite as we dissect a bumper weekend packed with salubrious sunshine, seductive soccer and a sagacious Sonogo. My co-host tonight is a man whose name in Spanish would quite literally be A.F.C. Diego, although you probably know him as the pod stalwart LLCoolJ. How you doing, James?
Hi, mate. How you doing? Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Very well. How did you enjoy your day at the Emirates today?
Yeah, lovely stuff. Good weather, good vibe, good people. Shame
Awesome.
about the result.
Awesome. So I'm also joined by the Asian sensation, who some claim is lacking in penetration, but to whom I say you're simply just a player hating. Holler at your boy, it's FK Hermage. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, mate. Thanks a lot for that intro.
Not a problem. And we know that we're going to have a little special rendition from you about a very special day you had today, and I'm sure the guests are looking forward to that.
Thanks, mate.
Also joining me tonight is a lady who some of the Twitter community claim is the Bex to my posh, or I aim to categorically squash such a rumour. How are you doing, Golden Balls? I mean, Ava.
I'm fine, dear. How are you?
I'm very well. So which country are you dialing in from tonight?
Belgium.
And so is that the third or the fourth this weekend?
That's the third.
The third. Awesome. And my final guest tonight is a fan so regal in her heritage, so esteemed by the peers she carries, and so highly thought in society, that some also know her as the Queen of Arsenal, or I prefer to call her that bird with a pod who always bangs on about Anfield. It's Amanda from the Gooner Girls Select. How are you doing?
That bird. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking me to come on.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. Although we haven't seen each other for quite a while now, since the last AST, I don't think, is it?
I know. You missed me.
Only slightly. Only slightly.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
Cool. So now on tonight's pod, we'll be focusing on the annual football festival that is the Emirates Cup. Today commemorated the final of the 7th year in earnest, and the Emirates celebrated its 4th victor of the tournament, Valencia, who joined Arsenal, New York Red Bulls, Galatasaray and Hamburg in the pantheon of the tournament's Goliaths. We saw one Arsene Wenger over 2 days of football laid witness to 3 new players begin the journey of their Arsenal career, and another scoring 4 goals out of Arsenal's 5 in a 6-game thriller. It was truly a weekend for numbers. So I want to kick off the podcast by talking about match day 1. We saw Valencia and Monaco battle out a 1-1 draw, during which an advertising board, ironically called Vitality, fall off the club level into the fans after the ground stood to applaud the entrance of Falcao. After which we were then delighted to see a young Arsenal side fire 5 past Benfica, despite them being managed by the man Jesus himself, and a Mexican wave circled the stadium no less than 6 times, whilst even gathering steam amongst the subs bench. Wenger, who didn't participate in the fun, claims that the fans showed true mental strength in their togetherness, but ultimately were perhaps lacking a little bit in sharpness in their bid for a 7th lap. James, what did you think about the game?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching that one from home, and I thought the atmosphere looked great. I mean, when Sanchez come on the second half, it just looked like it erupted on the screen. It looked fantastic. And then obviously the wave going on. I read a few tweets, people like, "Oh, don't do the wave," but you know, you get caught in it when you get there, don't you? And it's a family day, so the kiddies like it. So you know, a bit of fun. But I was really impressed with Hector Bellerin yesterday. I mean, he's one that people have obviously been talking about quite a bit. Went on loan at Watford last season. Few people talking about it, and obviously with Jenkinson going and Debuchy not starting, people were like, "Oh, Hector Bellerin, this is a weird one to play." And I was really impressed with him. I thought crossing wise, mate, like really competent crosser of the ball. I thought pace wise, very quick, very nimble on his feet. Defensively, not the best, but that will obviously come within time. And then I thought it was a good debut for Joel Campbell yesterday. I thought very good goal. You know, first time hit. Pleased with that. And obviously Sonogo, I mean, great little dance. So, you know, you can't moan at 4 goals.
Excellent. And how about you, FK?
I thought day 1 was pretty amazing, really. It was great to be back after such a long summer away from club football. And it was just good to be back, you know, seeing regular faces and obviously, you know, seeing Arsenal for the first time was brilliant. Sluggish start, but we started playing some nice stuff. Great to see Joel Campbell play. Good to see Yaya Sonogo get some minutes. I know a lot of people have written him off, and not that I think he'll make it or not make it. I'm just kind of like stuck on the fence at the moment. But the boy deserves a chance, and he scored 4 goals against a club that won the domestic treble. I know they've changed a lot in the last sort of 2 months, but the reality is they're Portuguese champions, and they got to the Europa Cup final. So. Yesterday was a great performance. Everything went well. Great first half. Came out. We kind of ran out of legs in the second half, I think. But the 3+ points for me were obviously Sonogo looked good. Joel Campbell looked good. But Chambers and Bellerin, Chambers for me looked really calm, really assured. Great. I know it's only his debut, but it's not easy to make a debut for a much bigger club against top opposition in a defence where your regulars are actually missing. And Gibbs, Bellerin, and Monreal and Chambers, they've never played together, and we had Martinez in goal, so we did really well. So a few positives to take and a great day out, I think.
Excellent. No, yeah, very, very good points there. And I was going to say, so on Sonogo then, Amanda, obviously he opened his account with kind of aplomb yesterday. I mean, do you see him stepping up this season and pushing Giroud for the centre forward spot, or do you think he should go out on experience? Go out and learn and gain some experience?
Absolutely go out on loan. And I've made up my new hashtag for him. He's now Sono Loads of Goals, because
cheeky.
I wasn't, I know, you like it? I wasn't actually there yesterday, but I was watching it here. And it's lovely. And, he's a good kid and he's got potential, but he's not going to win us the Premier League, and this is the season we want to win the Premier League. So for me, as I banged on about Jenks the whole of last season going on loan, which is fantastic, he's gone for him and for us, and it's brilliant that he's gone to West Ham. It's brilliant for us. We need Yaya to go on loan. Yeah.
And what did you make of the game and both the games? If you saw any of the Monaco match at all?
Well, I didn't really. I only watched Us, to be fair. Us here yesterday, and I was there today. Unfortunately, we picked the wrong day because we weren't great today, but I'm sure we'll go through that in a minute. I thought we were great yesterday. Oh, and Ramsey, how important is that boy for our team? Seriously, we have to keep him fit every single game of this season. He is just immense. I also tweeted about the fact that Ozil must be watching this thinking, you know what, I've got all this creativity in front of me. He's going to have a field day. He'll be top of the assists this Premier League. Mark my words.
Someone better write those words down then, and we'll hold you to that. So.
Don't worry, everyone knows on my pod, not only did I talk about Anfield, I rant about Ozil as well.
FK, you counting that now? Anfield mentioned number 1?
Yeah.
You tricked me.
Ava, I was going to say, Ava, Joel Campbell, yesterday, I think he showed, a lot of elegance with his movement off the ball, the way he brought the ball down and then his finishing. But what do you think for next season? Can you see him, realistically pushing with Podolski and Walcott and Oxlade for a first team place? Or do you think he's going to be more of a substitute player?
Honestly, I would like to see him push for the first team place, but I think he's going to be more of a substitute player. Though he did prove yesterday that he was ready for it. He was ready to fight for a spot in the team, which was really, really good to see. I think he grew up a lot during the World Cup too, and of course his loan at Olympiacos. I'm happy to see him back, and I'm happy that he scored, especially for him. It was an amazing game yesterday overall, except for the Mexican wave, which I hate. But I think he'll be a substitute.
So why do you hate the Mexican wave, Ava?
I can't stand it. I've always hated it. I don't understand the fun of it. I understand for a family day, for the kids, it's fun. But yeah, I personally can't stand it. I always sit in my seat and just watch everyone else do it.
I know, it's disgusting. All these women jumping up and down and breasts flying everywhere. It's just... I'm just trying to watch the football. I'm just trying to watch the football, and no.
I have to say I'm with Ava on that. I just could not believe that. I mean, it was fantastic to watch, to be honest. I didn't move, but it's not a football thing to do. So okay, it's a family day out. It's a friendly. I get it, but I would be. Can I swear on this podcast or not? Am I not allowed to?
It's Giles' podcast, and he's not here, so you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Okay. Good, because can't on mine. I'd be pissed off if I had to do that every bloody game at the Emirates.
Yeah, I remember I took my an ex-girlfriend there years ago to watch Arsenal Boca Juniors. We scored twice. She missed the first goal because she was watching the Mexican wave and missed the second goal because she was watching a hot dog. So I decided never to take her again.
And now she's an ex.
No, that's why she is an ex. That's why she is an ex.
I wonder why.
So I was going to say, FK, who are your kind of real standout players from, I guess, day one? I know obviously it was a team comprised of youngsters, and we can't take too much from just, friendlies likewise. We can't take too much from those who play well and those who don't play well. But in the years ahead, who can you see, breaking the first team and kind of hot and being like, the future superstars for us?
Well, I think Joel Campbell's got something about him, hasn't he? He's obviously a very talented boy. He's shown it whilst on loan, showed it during the World Cup. I think the only concern Arsenal have, and I sort of heard a bit more about it today, was just A, his attitude, and B, his work rate. Yesterday, for the first half hour, 40 minutes, he was tracking back, he was running around, he was hungry, making lots of movement. That's the sort of Joel Campbell I think that the club want to see. In the second half, I think he got tired, so it's probably not the other side of Joel Campbell. I think he's just genuinely knackered from the summer. So he's got a lot of promise. I'm indifferent to Yaya Sanogo. I think if he's given game time, he'll probably go on a good run and score a few goals, but I don't think we can afford to take that risk and give him the game time at Arsenal, because if like Amanda says, you want to win the league, quite frankly, the brutal truth is that you need better quality up front. I really like the boy Callum Chambers. I have to be honest with you guys, I'm not one of those people on Twitter who seem to know everything about every player. I've seen very little of him last season. I don't even remember his performance against us, if I'm being brutally honest. But the two games that we've seen over the 2 days, today and yesterday, he looks really assured, he looks really confident. He's got all the physical attributes to, that make a good defender, i.e. he looks strong, he's tall, he gets up and down the pitch. Interestingly, Arsene Wenger said in the press conference today that one of the things that drew him to Chambers was not only the performance that he gave against us, but the fact that he's got a great engine on him, and you wouldn't really think that of a central defender. He's been educated as a central midfielder, so maybe that'll be a role that he plays one day, but good engine and very strong. So he just looks really calm, and he reminds me of a very young sort of Gary Cahill type defender, and he seems good on the ball. So really early days, and I think James mentioned Hector Bellerin, or however you pronounce his name. He looks decent going forward, a little bit clumsy defensively, but again with game time I think he'll come good, and I think that certainly Wenger and the coaches seem to think that he's got a real bright future. So those are the 3-4. They're kind of obvious ones, but I think they've got a real chance.
No, that's a very fair point. Yeah, you're right, James. I think you were talking about Bellerin earlier, and he's got all the speed of a Scottish raver.
He's incredibly fast. I mean, I heard about him obviously from being on loan at Watford and being a Barcelona youth product. He's got to be quite good if he's a Barcelona youth product. I mean, there's not a lot of them that don't do very well, and I thought he was incredible to watch. I mean, and some of the crosses he was putting in, but like you said about Chambers, for someone that's just come in, he looks like he's been there for years. The way that he was passing, even today as well a bit, I know we'll get into it in a minute, but yesterday, the ball that he played for Ramsey to cross it into Sanogo, I think, for the first goal, I'm like, it looks like they've got telepathy already, and he's only been there a few days.
He was very diminutive,
really settled in.
He pushes forward very well, doesn't he? But what about?
And he's a very good chap. Like his interview as well. I think he's such a humble kid. It's really good to see an England kid speak that well, because we get a bit of a tarnish with England people. They don't care, or they don't really. They get everything handed to them early. But he said, they said you played really well today on BT, and he come out and said, well, you have to be when you're at Arsenal. Have you seen who I'm up against? If I don't play well, I don't get picked. So, he said, I've got all this quality around me, so I'm going to use it. And I think, it's really, he did do it well.
James, just on that point, actually, I don't know if you guys know Nigel Mitchell, who's our broadcaster on Match Day. The guy who's on the microphone.
Yeah, he was out there today, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a chat this afternoon, and he was saying that, I was, just sort of quizzing him about what's it like to interview players and who's he friends with and all that kind of stuff. And he said over the last sort of 2-3 years, the work that he's been doing with the players, all the boys from Southampton are always so well spoken, are always so confident and self-assured that it's as if they've been media trained since they've been 8, 9, 10 years old. And it's just funny that you say that about Callum Chambers, because that's what struck me yesterday when he was doing his first interview. I thought, hey, we've got a boy here who looks like he's been playing for Arsenal for years, and it looks like he's talking the talk. And it was just quite an interesting point, because Nigel said that with Theo, the Ox, you look at Gareth Bale, he's a really good talk, as in he's a very calm, well-spoken kind of talker, and actually Southampton are doing something really good there. So, a lot of credit must go to them.
I think, yeah, if you look at especially Chamberlain as well, he speaks very, very articulately. And one thing he doesn't have, which is a kind of a plague a lot of footballers have, he doesn't speak in rhetoric, and he doesn't speak with cliches. So none of this kind of in and around, or at the end of the day, he's a very, charming young chap, isn't he? He's the kind of guy that if you had a conversation, he'd probably ask you questions, and he'd be interested in what you have to say, because that's just the way he's brought up. Although he's a Pompey legend, isn't he? As his father was, so. But I mean, so Ava, on Bellerin, does he have the best haircut at Arsenal? No?
I'm not sure, probably.
Better than Giroud?
Yes. No. No, I honestly don't know. I have to be completely honest here, I haven't watched him.
Okay. But what about, I mean, here's one for, I guess, yourself, Ava and Amanda. One name we haven't really mentioned, who was obviously very prominent yesterday, was the young keeper, Damian Martinez. Now, obviously, we've brought in Ospina this summer, and, to give competition to young Szczesny. But how do you think Damian's going to kind of feature in the year ahead? Should he go for a loan, or is he, is he in a good place and third position? I know, obviously, we didn't give much time to Viviano last year, so how would you girls see him, pushing on this year?
I don't think he should go on loan. I think he should stay with us. I think it's a little bit different with goalkeepers. But one thing I'd like to say that I noticed was how good the Ox was today. I mean, we have got such talent in our team. Sorry to, I always digress, because if I don't say it, I'll forget it. But I really was impressed with him today.
We didn't have a section dedicated to Dato anyway, so it's fine, don't worry.
Okay, I just think that... Shut up. I'm going to shush. Ava, you talk.
Do you want me to talk about the Ox, or...
You talk about the goalkeeper.
I think Ospina and Roach will have a head-to-head competition. I mean, they're both really good goalkeepers, except for the fact that one's already injured. For Martinez, I think he should stay at Arsenal. He might not be ready for first-team action just yet, but I think he can learn a lot from working with, for training with Roach and Ospina, which would be good for him. And I think eventually he'll hopefully be in goal. I hope for him anyway. I mean, Roach is still young and Ospina's not that old either. So, I hope so.
And so what, FK, did you see any of the first game at all?
What, yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there.
So what was your takeaway on the Valencia and Monaco game?
Again, I thought it was a fairly even game actually. Played very much at a friendly pace. No real serious kind of like competition to it. Very slow. Nothing really stood out from memory. It didn't seem like a very attractive game to watch. It was just. But then maybe I was just so excited about Arsenal, I really wasn't thinking about it or focusing on it too much. But no, it's just nothing really stood out. Just a very bland, slow-paced kind of game, and I thought the draw was a fair result.
It kind of almost had an element of what touch rugby is to rugby. It was very,
a little bit
technically proficient. Yeah. It was nice to watch, but ultimately, it kind of lacked that cutting edge.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, basically, it was training ground stuff, really, sort of like pass move, and until the ball just goes out of play. There was no sort of physical challenges. Nothing. The pace wasn't as quick as you'd normally get in the Premier League. It was very much a continental friendly being played in the sun. And it was just, a fair result. I don't think any players particularly exerted themselves too much.
Yeah.
And it was just a nice sort of friendly affair.
I was gonna open it up to you guys. What does the Emirates Cup mean to you? I mean, obviously, I think we're kind of damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. If we win it, people say we have to create our own cup to win it, and if we don't, people laugh that we can't even win our own trophy. But I mean, obviously, it's a day out for a lot of young people who can't get access to games because obviously it's a heavily dominated stadium, heavily dominated by season ticket holders, and it's obviously financially incentivized for newcomers. But I mean, do you guys see it as something that's serious? Is it a big thing for your calendar every year? What does it mean to you guys? I'll start with you, James.
I think it's an important competition, just from the point of view of what you've just said. Really, I mean, not everybody can afford it. Not everybody can go there, and obviously the tickets are a bit cheaper than what they normally are, and you get 2 games instead of 1. Do you know what I mean? You get to watch 2 games of football, and I can't remember. It's really winding me up. I can't remember what somebody said on a podcast before. We talked about the average age of the fans inside the Emirates, and it was, I don't want to sound ageist because I'm I'm the youngest one here, but it's quite high up. And I think the only way you get young people going to football is if you introduce them to it. And to get them in there today, there was a lot of families there today, a lot of kids and that sat near where I was in the West Block upper. And going around the stadium when you walk in as well, I saw there was a lot of stuff for kids, like Gunnosaurus and that was walking around outside. I don't know if he does that during normal season games. And they were handing out, you know, the inflatable things that you bang together, and that creates an atmosphere. And just stuff like, it all seemed, I think it's very family orientated, and you know, everybody knows it's pre-season, so it is competitive, but it's just a day out to showcase some of the new signings, obviously, that we had, and some of the younger players get a chance. So it's all worth it. And I mean, if we win it, we win it. If we don't, we don't.
What's your view then, Ava?
I usually go with the family. This year I decided not to, due to last year's experience that wasn't a good one. Plus I was busy with competing. I usually quite enjoy it. It's a lovely day out for families. It's nice to see the guys, you know, play together, especially for new signings. It's great to see them. I think it's a lovely thing to do. As James said, you see 2 games on one afternoon, which is great. So yeah, I think it's a lovely cup, and I think it's a good way to you know, test the team.
No, I know, and obviously, Amanda, a lot of people like myself probably avoided today, knowing that we couldn't handle 2 days of you. But how did you enjoy your Sunday afternoon at the Emirates?
You're being so nice to me tonight. Well, I have to be honest, I don't do the Charity Shield or friendlies, and I probably wouldn't go back, to be honest. Leave it to the people that can't go, because obviously I have a season ticket. Mm-hmm. How did I find? I just found it odd today. I sat in a completely different area, which was great to see a different part of the ground. I don't know, I'm not sort of... It was nice to be relaxed, because obviously there's nothing, you know, no stress, but I had a great day out, if you understand what I mean, but I probably wouldn't do it again. I probably wouldn't go back.
Okay, and then just before we wrap up day one, I want to FK a quick fire round of you. Players, the youngsters who we've seen yesterday, and maybe a couple of others, should we either hone them in and keep them next season, or should we loan them out? So I just want to get your just quick fire, one word answer. Bayerin?
Sure. Keep.
Martinez?
Loan.
Sonogo?
Loan.
Coquelin?
Sell.
Chambers?
I'll keep.
Miguel?
What, Ignacy?
Yep.
Sell.
Akpom?
Oh, I'd love to keep him. I loan him.
Nabry?
Loan.
Rio?
Miyachi?
Mm-hmm.
Loan.
Gunnosaurus?
Oh, keep. What a legend.
Keep.
Lovely. All right. Okay, and on to day 2. So after their hammering from Saturday, Sunday's humiliation at the hands of Valencia left Benfica tasting defeat more than a man who eats millipedes for breakfast. The men in orange ran amok in one of the least competitive matches of football I've seen, and only by a calamity of goalkeeping errors which led to both sides initiating belief in their third-choice keepers was the game saved. In the second game, Martin Atkinson had more howlers than a Robert Patterson film as he denied Arsenal a Stonewall penalty as Monaco ran out victors. So I was going to ask, Amanda, how much should we look into today's defeat? I mean, some people are losing themselves slightly in their analysis of certain players, namely Arteta, who was caught in possession more than Nigella Lawson and Giroud, but we're not giving too much importance to friendlies when we slate these players for pre-season performances.
I tweeted before that for the ones that were getting carried away yesterday, I took no notice, and for the ones that were moaning tonight, I took no notice. There's my answer. They're friendlies, they're pre-season, you know, they've got... Are they playing any more matches apart from the Charity Shield? Have they got any more friendlies, or... Does anyone know?
Ava for FK, James?
No.
Not I'm aware of.
No, I think that's next Sunday, that's it. Charity Shield, that's it.
Yeah.
Is it Sunday? I thought it was Saturday. Is it not
Sunday.
I
Saturday?
think it's next Sunday, isn't it? Next Sunday.
Oh. Yeah, sorry, Sunday, the 10th. Well, look, if you want to talk about Arteta, we can talk about Arteta, but I don't really take much of what I saw yesterday when everyone thought we were going to win the treble after that ended, and then today when people were moaning. We definitely 1,000,000% need a central defensive midfielder, and I personally think we need a striker, but that is another conversation. It's hard to answer on friendlies because I don't watch them. So I loved yesterday's game, loved the atmosphere. Today's game, lucky I was with my girls because we had a laugh, you know. I don't take much notice of it, to be honest. Let's see when we play Palace Saturday week.
Do you think that's fair, Ava? I mean, what was your assessment of the game today?
I usually don't look into friendlies, pre-season friendlies, at all. I do watch them on my Commander. As for the first game of the season, I don't look into that either after last season. But I think today, you know, there were obviously some mistakes made by by some players, and I think the criticism on certain players is too harsh. But then again, yesterday, the excitement over the other players was way over the top. So, you know, our fans get carried away really, really easily, and I think I tweeted it, but I felt like we lost 20-0 against Spurs reserves or whatever. It was an absolutely ridiculous reaction, but people look for the slightest and smallest of things just to slam a player that they think should go or shouldn't play for us. So I don't look into pre-season games that much. I usually tend to enjoy them and look out for certain players. And today that was Chambers, Sanchez, and Ramsey, and of course Debussy.
I mean, yeah, I get your point. I remember last year actually when I think we were losing 1-0 at half time to Napoli in the first game, and the fans actually booed the players off, which I thought, you know, was pretty ridiculous. And I think it was, you know, it was because obviously they were annoyed at the kind of the lack of signings last year, which I guess we're obviously in a completely different position this year. But I mean, FK, I mean, for you, kind of how did you see today's game with the new signings? Obviously, we had 3 new boys playing today. What was your take on how they kind of you know, fitted into the team and the team's overall performance?
Well, look, first and foremost, pre-season friendlies are there for fitness, strength, reconditioning, and players gelling together, right? Results really don't matter too much, and I'm not going to lie here. I'm not going to sit here and say to you that, yeah, I don't really care that we lost it. I mean, obviously, who doesn't want to win games? You want to win the Emirates Cup, you want to win the Community Shield, and I think after the FA Cup, it's nice to have that momentum because you do go into the new season, you know, you hit the ground running. That said, you know, today was the complete opposite of yesterday. I thought we were really static today. Really flat performance, no real energy or not fight's the wrong word because it is a friendly. You wouldn't really expect players to fight in a friendly, even though Flamini had a few rash challenges when he came on. But the game itself was a dire watch. It was tough. We had no movement or creativity in midfield. Nothing went through up top, and Giroud really had a bad day today. I think he looked really out of sorts. The tempo of our game was very slow. I thought midfield we looked very narrow. I noticed this yesterday actually after Jack Wilshere and Arteta came on. Our game, they both tried to occupy the same space in midfield, whereas Ramsey and Rosicky, they often tend to float all over the field, which actually makes our game a lot more fluid, and it gives you more options. When you've got Wilshere and Arteta huddling the kind of like the central third of the pitch, if you like, it can become very crammed. For me, bit of a bold statement to make here, but I think Arteta's gone. Not just based on these 2 games. I think he struggled last season as well in the bigger games. I think his legs are beginning to go. Don't get me wrong, I don't want any listeners kind of like misunderstanding. He's been brilliant for us. He came in at a time when we needed exactly what he did for us for 2, 3, 4 years now. But I think if you want to win the league and if you're going to go up against the big boys, he just looks slow. He looks like players can just ghost past him. He's not the strongest, we know that. But I think he's going to be a squad player at best this year. So no real major positives to take out today. Chambers obviously looked decent, but I think it was a flat performance. I think the boys know that. And Arsene Wenger's post-match press conference, he seemed really disappointed, albeit over just a friendly. But he didn't seem to like what he saw, and he was quite brutal about his assessment. He said, we were lethargic, we didn't want it, we weren't good enough, we deserved to lose. And there was no creativity in midfield, so I would go along with all of those.
Oof. So there you go, James. Bang to rights. FK says we're lacking in creativity in the middle. We were narrow and Giroud wasn't up to it. What do you reckon? What was your take on the game, mate?
Well, from where I was sitting, I mean, all this about criticising players and stuff, I know it's pre-season. The one thing that annoyed me is the 3 pre-season games that I've seen, which is the Red Bulls one, this one today and the one yesterday. All our goals, set pieces. set pieces, and for that to be a problem before the start of the season worries me, because we're playing Man City next weekend, and they've got some big lads. If they're going to have Dzeko in the corners, Yaya Toure on the corners, company, they're going to fly. It panics me. This is something that's very routine. We know there's been a problem for a few years, and we rectified it last year. I mean, we didn't concede from set pieces as much as we did last season, but it's just like bad habits coming back. Like today for Falcao's goal, you know that man is in the top 5 strikers in the world, in world football. I'd say he's in the top 5, and you know if it comes in like that and he's got a free header, he's gonna. I mean, for me, Monreal sort of turned around thinking, oh, Koscielny's got it. Koscielny turned around thinking, oh, Chambers has got it, and he's just there and he hammers it in. And as far as Arteta goes, I love this man to pieces. He comes in being signed as a number 10. He thinks he's going to be a number 10. He gets moved back into a defensive midfield role. He doesn't moan about it. He gets on with it and he does it. And when he signed as well, we had a lot of clique mentality at our club where people sat with certain people when they're eating, when they're socialising. And Arteta come in and went, what is this? And he got the tables and he moved them all together and he said, we all eat as a team. We all socialise as a team, and he's brought all that together, which I see now, which we all love. So I wouldn't sell Arteta, and I think Arteta to me as well has future manager written all over him, just from, he's still got that in him where he can pick a pass, he's still got very good tactical awareness, but for me today, as you watched him and you don't think we need a defensive midfielder, you're completely deluded. He was lost. He was lost out there today. Really lost. And Monreal for me as well just looked, he didn't look good out there. Did not look comfortable at all.
I mean, Ava, what have you thought about the Monreal positioning? So I know he's played in centre back twice so far this pre-season. Is that kind of an indication to you that Wenger might be looking to play in there? Is it just simply because some of our World Cup kind of players have been missing in action, and so it's just a short-term solution? How do you see that one playing out?
I hope it's just a short-term solution. I don't like Monreal as a central defender. I don't like Monreal as a left back at all. I'm sorry, I do like Monreal. I just don't like him as a defender that much. He's a great upcoming left back, or he can be. But I don't hope that Wenger puts him in central defence. I think it's just a temporary thing. I hope so anyway.
Okay, and I've had a question come in, Amanda, from Dave Strauss. So you might know Dave. He's known as Goodman_London because he's the COO of London's finest steakhouse. So accept no other substitute, ladies and gentlemen. And he asks, should Giroud be worried? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I do. What is it with him falling on the bloody pitch every minute? It does my head in. He's so dramatic. He's not the answer. I know that. But I'm really stuck with Giroud because today he can't take much indication. We haven't, the team, we can have Ozil in it. It's just, I don't know what you want me to say. If you said to me now, could we win the Premier League with Giroud in our side? No, we couldn't. This time last year, I said we could. I changed my mind about December.
Yeah?
Yeah.
James, what have you got to say to that, mate?
Yeah, for me today, I thought he was dreadful. I really thought he was struggling out there. And like you said, he's a 6 foot plus lad, big boy, and he falls on the ground like, he just falls like a donut. Like, it just winds me up. I mean, Sanchez is about half his size, and he don't go half as down as much as Giroud does. He stands there, gets on with the game. But for me as well is today, like FK was saying, he said that there weren't enough fluidity and stuff in the midfield. They all seem like Ramsey, Sanchez, and even yesterday when Campbell, Ramsey and all them were playing, they always seem 1 or 2 moves ahead of what they want to do. And I think we need another striker that is like that, because with Giroud, he's still like, okay, maybe they'll do this, and his mind doesn't work as quick, I don't think, as the others. And I don't know if he's not got the pace to do it, but it's not even about the pace, and it's if you think with your head, okay, this is the position I need to be in, so I'm going to, he doesn't do it enough. He doesn't do it enough for me, and that's the one big concerning factor for me, that and the rolling on the ground. Not good enough. Not good enough. I think we need someone with a brain that can meet the moves of the others.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
I mean, that's one thing I like about Sanchez. I think, not since Guti realised that his girlfriend was actually a fella have we seen a footballer refuse to go down so easily. So, FK, I was going to say, on Sanchez, he came on yesterday, centre forward, started today as a right striker. I mean, how do you see him this season? I mean, where do you see him predominantly playing? Is he going to take Giroud's position? Is he going to be playing on the left, on the right? Is he going to be, in out shaker? What do you reckon, mate?
I think Giroud's going to spearhead our attack, and I have no problem with that, actually, because I don't think he's fully fit at the moment. Far from it. He's absolutely shattered. He had a really long season last year, and actually when he was the first 3 or 4 months, I don't know if you guys can remember, but his work rate was really phenomenal. And he's not the most clinical of strikers, and I think Amanda's got a slight point that if you want to win the league, you need someone who's going to be a match winner, who can create something out of nothing, and is ruthless in front of goal, and Giroud is none of the above. That said, what he does do very well that players haven't done over the past is his link-up play is brilliant. He's a great target man, and he's very useful defensively. I don't know if you guys have clocked that, but set pieces, when he always tracks back for every corner, every free kick. No, it's not his job, but the fact is that, he's put in there for a reason and he does it effectively. So I've got no problem with him playing up top. With regards to Sanchez, Wenger's now mentioned on 3 or 4 occasions that he sees him on the left, on the right, and up front. He keeps saying the fact that he's very versatile, so I don't think he's going to play up front. I think he'll basically rotate with Podolski and Walcott and Giroud. He'll play every now and again he might play up front, but I think you'll see him drifting off on both flanks. And I think the beauty of Sanchez's game, he is an outlet for us, so he's not the sort of player that's going to drop deep, although he did a couple of times today. He's not going to drop deep and start running at defenders and, trying to create stuff. He is literally going to run on the shoulder of either fullback or maybe a central defender, wait for that slide through pass from Ozil, Ramsey, Wilshere, a little dink ball from Arteta, whoever it is. He is going to be that outlet. He's going to run in behind. He's going to be rapid. And so that's the sort of role that I see for him. So he's going to be an outlet either left, right, or even up top, but I think Giroud is going to be the main man.
Can I just ask you a question? It's yes or no, FK. Can we win the league with him up front?
Giroud?
Yeah.
And that's the real quiz.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'd say we can't.
Because I think the reason why is because I think Podolski, Walcott, Giroud, Sanchez, and Campbell, I think there's goals in them. I think the difference this year is that we don't have to rely just on Giroud. The other difference is also that with Shad Forsyth coming in, if we can sort out our injuries, big if, but last season we had Ox, Wilshere, Walcott, Ramsey and Ozil fit all together just twice. So if we can get maybe 2 or 3 months more out of each of those players, we'll fly this year.
Okay.
And just one final one then, I guess. Eva, what did you make of Debuchy today? Do you reckon he's a ready-made replacement for Sanya? Have we strengthened there? Have we weakened there? Or, are we at the same level? What's your take on the guy?
It's Eva. Well, I don't think he's as good as Sanya. I was speaking to a mate of mine who's French, John, and he can't stand Debuchy. I haven't seen him play much before the World Cup. I did watch him during the World Cup. I think he is an alright defender and a fullback. If he's better than Sanya, no, he's not. If he worse a bit, can he do it? Yes, he can, and it's better than Jenkinson.
Brilliant. Okay, and then just to wrap up, one word answer from you all. Player of the tournament, FK.
Oh, geez, player of the tournament. I'll tell you what, I was really impressed by the Monaco number 14 today, Bakayoko. He sat in front of the defence and was really good. In terms of Arsenal player of the tournament, it's probably got to be Callum Chambers.
Okay. Ava?
Yeah, Chambers.
Amanda?
I was going to say Chambers.
James?
I'm tied between Chambers and Bellerin, but I'll go with the crowd and go Chambers.
The crowd.
I'll play it safe.
I'm standing by myself at the end of the disco as per usual. I'm going to go for Sonogo. So that's my one. All right then. So, well, you just don't want me, Ava, so you just broken my heart again. So now on to part 3. We've got a very special part. FK, I know today you had, all your dreams came true as you met Monsieur Wenger himself, the Le Professeur, and you met some of the players and, you were treated to the press pack and some, some VIP hospitality. So kind of an off piece. Maybe you can run through, the day to day, how it went, how you got involved, and kind of maybe some of the information you found out.
Yeah, well, essentially I was given behind-the-scenes access today, courtesy of a friend of mine, Rich Laverty, who actually is the producer of the Hayley McQueen podcast, the Offside Rule. So Hayley McQueen and all her Sky Sports female colleagues, and we were up against each other at the National Football Awards last year. We met, we followed each other, and he's got this online magazine called Football Magazine 92. And he wanted me to go in and basically just, milk it up, enjoy myself, and see if I could get some good snippets and some interviews. So I agreed to do it. And it was an amazing day. First and foremost, obviously me being just a season ticket holder, I'm just a regular fan like anybody else. I'm not a journalist. I have no skills of that kind of thing. And so for me, it was really overwhelming, like going in, sitting next to Philippe Auclair and Amy Lawrence for the entire game, having people like Matt Law and all these other really well-respected journalists that were kind of there. It was incredible. And because of the international coverage, because of the European teams, we had Portuguese journalists, we had Spanish journalists. It was, people that you'd recognised off TV. It was, it was really, really incredible. Even Michael Owen, who gets a lot of criticism because of his punditry, I'm not going to comment on that, but for me, growing up, watching him, he was a phenomenal player. So, to meet people like him and have a really good chat with him today was just really insightful. And sadly, the games didn't live up to expectation, but I got to meet, like you say, the boss. I sat in his press conference. We had a chat outside where he was huddled around some journalists. Didn't give too much away about transfers. In fact, didn't give anything away from transfers from Arsene himself. Didn't seem too happy actually today. I think I touched upon that earlier in the podcast. And he knows that obviously it was just a friendly and that we lost it, and I think he would have liked to have won it, but he seemed really disappointed in his post-match press conference. Other than that, got to meet some great players, Falcao, Ricardo Carvalho, Jack Wilshere, saw Rosicky and Bellerin and Zelalem. So it was just really nice, and it was really overwhelming, and I think the other journos kind of caught on that I was a bit of a fanboy, because every time sort of Jack came out, when Falcao came out, I was like, oh my god, Falcao was like right in front of me. It was just crazy. Carvalho asked for my picture, which was a bit odd, but there you go. It was, but you know what? The day itself, it was amazing, and I have to say, Arsenal's hospitality behind the scenes was such a classy club. I mean, you go in and you're so well looked after. They feed you incredible food. I mean, I'm talking, I thought maybe we'd get a sandwich and some crisps, but we had a full-on roast lamb, Yorkshire pudding, potatoes, vegetables, jus, as the lady corrected me. It wasn't gravy, it was jus. We had scones and tea for afternoon tea with cookies and the best ice cream I've ever eaten in my life. So in terms of hospitality and comfort, you're given like a booth each engraved personally with Arsenal crests and free Wi-Fi, and the seats are really comfortable. I mean, honestly, as a journalist, it's one of the nicer clubs, and every journalist kind of told me that today when I said to them, you must do other grounds, you must go to other clubs. How does this compare? It was absolutely unanimous in that Arsenal is the best club in terms of hospitality. So the club deserve a lot of credit for that. In terms of snippets and stuff, obviously Arsene wasn't too forthcoming with transfer stuff. I think he was really disappointed with the performance today. He was particularly scathing on Giroud. He said he was nowhere near ready, very slow and sluggish. He thought the team just didn't play very well and that we deserved to lose today. Someone did ask him about transfers at the end, but Mark Ganella, the Director of Communications, said, sorry, we've got to end it, and he walked out. And then the journalists kind of huddled around together, and I just kind of eavesdropped. So you had people like Ian McIntosh, Philippe Auclair, Amy Lawrence and co. And I was just trying to fish for information out of them. Central midfielder, they all seem absolutely certain that we're going to add a central midfielder. Who, I don't know, but they think Khedira is very much still on. I also spoke to a couple of Portuguese journalists to ask them their opinions of William Carvalho, and interestingly, they don't actually rate him that highly in Portugal. They think he's a good player, they think he's young, but they think he's not ready for the Premier League. They don't think he's as good as people make him out to be. And even if he did come this year, they say he'd be like Ronaldo, not in the type of player, but he'd be like Cristiano Ronaldo, in that you'd need at least 2 years to kind of build him up and get him ready to the pace of the league. And if Arsenal are going for the league this year, and we've got 20, 30 million pounds to burn, then I'd rather we went out and got an accomplished player, because that's what we need now. We can't really sit around and wait for someone to come and develop for 2 years. So yeah, I met some really nice, loyal club staff who told me a few stories or two about past players, and like I said, Nigel Mitchell, had a really nice long chat with him about his job and what he does, and it was just a fantastic day. And at the end, I think the funniest thing that happened was all the Arsenal players drove away in their fancy cars, only for Debussy to come out the players' exit, and he was waiting with his trolley case. I went over to chat to him, and he was waiting for a taxi, and along came a Renault Espace, 52 plate car, with some dodgy Indian, and I can say that because I am, but a dodgy Indian driver. He had no idea what he was doing, and he sort of wheeled him away, and it was just the most hilarious thing. There's all these Maseratis and Range Rovers going past, and he's in this like maroon banger with like the back light falling off. It was hilarious, but otherwise a great day, and honestly, truly overwhelmed. And the best thing, to be in the same room as Arsene Wenger. When you listen to him speak, when you're looking at him face to face, I could listen to him all day, honestly. And I know you guys know that I love Wenger, but he's just such a man of wisdom, and only when he's gone will we realise just how amazing he is.
Now, I know Ava says she has an evil grin, and not because I've sent her a selfie on WhatsApp, but apparently she has a question which isn't good. What would you like to ask, Ava?
FK, did you meet any of the Emirates girls, and did you pick one up?
I managed to bump into two outside the ladies' toilets, actually. Don't ask what I was doing there. Don't ask why I was there. It was just I find myself in these positions all the time, but they're quite disturbing, actually, Ava. If I'm being brutally honest with you, to answer your question, no, I didn't get any numbers. But they're smiling all the time.
That's unlike UFK not to get a number.
No, honestly, man, I've had a tough week. But I have to be honest with you, they smile. It's nice when you first look at them and you kind of smile back, and then 5 minutes later they're still smiling at you, like frozen faces, and it's quite creepy. And I would hate to, maybe sort of fall asleep next to one and then wake up and she's just like staring at you with that smile on her face. It's just really eerie. So no, Ava, I didn't. But they are beautiful girls.
I flew to Dubai last year, and they are proper fit, the Fly Emirates ladies, aren't they? So, FK, was Amanda sat at the back on her highness or not? The Queen of Arsenal. I just wanted to ensure whether we need to ascertain this.
I'm not quite sure where Amanda was, but I can tell you that I definitely heard her.
Shut up, you two. I've got a question. You know that I met Wenger as well in a Q&A about 16 months ago, and I was like you. I walked in and exactly the same. It wasn't a press thing, it was a Diamond Club thing, and I could exactly get what you're saying, FK. He's so charismatic that I literally had the front seat. It was like a press conference. I felt like I went into like Arsene Wenger's dream world. I was just staring. I was just completely overwhelmed. But the one thing that shines through about him more than anything is his personality and his humour. I mean, I never realised how funny he was. He had everybody in stitches, and we weren't in the best position at that time. We were okay. I think we were fourth or third. I think we were fourth. It was April last year, not this year. And he's just completely humorous. I don't know what he was like today. I mean, it might have been different because we didn't play very well, but I do agree with you. We will not know what we had until he's gone. A little bit how we felt about George Graham as well. People didn't appreciate what George Graham brought to us until we went. And obviously we had Rioch, but then Wenger came in. But I think Graham and Wenger have been, the two best managers in my lifetime anyway.
The thing about us, and Amanda, sorry to just kind of like jump in there, but you and I will obviously know through our engagement with journalists, but maybe for people who aren't in a blessed position like that, but journalists always tell us that actually of all the managers they deal with, Arsene Wenger always deals with them in a very classy way, the way he greets them, the way he talks to them, the way he says goodbye to them. All of them, honestly, Andrew, they all say to me that he is just a charming guy. And that Jeff goes on about it all the time, Jeff Arsenal, about how Arsene Wenger just oozes class. He is. he has his tantrums, he has his moans, but he will always deal with questions, with the media, with such integrity. Even when things are going against him, when he's backing up against the wall, he will fight our corner, he will represent the club, and he will always protect us. But he's such a classy man, and you're right. I don't think we're ever going to see a man like him at Arsenal again, and what he will leave behind as a legacy. And once he is gone, only then will we realise what a visionary he was. And it's as simple as that. It's going to be heartbreaking. And actually, there's a case to be made, right, Amanda, that actually the last 7 or 8 or 9 years have probably been a harder achievement for him than the first 7, 8 years he had at Arsenal, because he inherited a very good team. Then he built the Invincibles, of course, but he had no, financial pressure and all that kind of stuff. And the last 7, 8 years to do what he's done, the more realistic football fans amongst us in the changed landscape. The oil money, the Abramovich and the sheikhs coming in. I mean, he's done a terrific job, and he's brilliant. I just love the man.
Well, one of the things that he told us 16 months ago was his remit was to keep us in the Champions League season after season after season for the banks and the interest. I'm not into all this money, but that's what he was told. So for everyone out there who feels he failed because we didn't win a trophy in that time, that wasn't actually his remit for the actual funding of the stadium and how. I don't understand the whys and wherefores of it, but that's what he told us. Obviously he would tell us that, but he did it in such a way that you actually believe everything he was saying. He said the banks insisted we were in the Champions League, and that's what he did. So you can say he failed or say he didn't, but that's what he did do. This is the season now where he's obviously more freer with the funds, and he's buying good purchases. And I don't understand anyone that doesn't like Tabucchi. I quite rate him, but we'll see as time goes on. I think he's made some really good buys. He's got rid of some really talentless players. I feel, so you get a bit excited now. You forget Theo's not even in the squad. You've got some amazing talent there. But there is that one central defensive midfielder we're desperate for. I'd take that over getting a striker. That to me is much more important, actually. Unless one's not available. Listen, it's not so easy just to go and buy who you think we should. And you can all listen to all these Twitter rumours. I take no notice of any of them. But it's not just so easy to go and buy a player. He's got to want to come to London. He's got to want to play for us. Everything's got to be right. And what we wouldn't do for a Patrick Vieira now, we'd walk the league. So it's all looking good, and I'm pleased for Wenger, and I'm pleased he was annoyed today because we were static and we were not great. But as Ava said, don't take much notice of it, like I didn't take much notice of it yesterday.
And I know James is bursting more than Bentness ever Ian. What do you want to ask, mate?
Yeah, I was just going to say, FK, did he talk more about, internal things that are happening within the new staff that he's appointed and what their roles are, what they're doing, and obviously players that are injured at the moment, like Diaby, like Ospina, like Sanogo, he went off yesterday. Did he speak more about how long they could be out for, when they're expected to come back, etc.?
No, not at all, actually, interestingly. Nobody dared ask.
Yeah, I thought he'd be pressed on that.
No, he actually came into the press conference, and the first question was, what do you make of the game? And I think because he was so brutally honest about just a friendly game, it was quite interesting because the mood in the press conference room changed very, very quickly. And you could tell that actually something was up, and I don't think anyone was wanting to push him today. He spoke openly about acknowledging the club's injury situation at the press conference yesterday. He spoke also before the New York game about Shad Forsyth's role, so that he knows that it's a problem, and he said it on 2 or 3 occasions now that injuries have cost us dearly. He's looking to rectify that, but similar to what Amanda's saying, I think he's got this approach now to buying players where previously we would have been laughed out in the negotiations because we would have gone in too cheap and just not bothered raising our bid. But gone are the days that, of that Arsenal now spending up to £16 million on a young squad player. So I think you're going to start seeing some real quality come through, and he's not done yet, and he's made that absolutely clear. Yesterday he said, he's looking for definitely 1, possibly 2 transfers. So he didn't talk too much about the injuries, James, but he's certainly very optimistic about adding to the squad.
That's good to hear.
Okay, brilliant stuff. Now let's move on to some listeners' questions, because you listeners are the very lifeblood of Arsenal Fan TV. So the very cheeky El Dejo asks, and I'm going to ask in his accent to you, Amanda, if it were up to the pod, would Sanchez play without shorts?
Say it in English. What was that?
If it were up to the pod, would Sanchez play without shorts?
See, when I get asked questions on our podcast, they're quite sensible questions, football questions. I'm not going to answer that. I'm old enough to be his mother. Maybe Ava can answer it.
Ava only has eyes for one man on this pod. FK.
It's not FK, that's for sure. To answer your question, Andrew, do you know what? He could be dressed like Gunnosaurus for all I care. As long as he bangs in the goals, he can wear whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and play however he wants. I just want him to score goals and win his trophies.
What do you reckon, Ava?
I'm with FK on this one.
James?
Well, I just think it's going to create a really bad trend with the youngsters, because, you know, when I was a kid, you turned your collar up like Eric Cantona, or you pulled your socks up like Henri, and now I just think there's going to be a bunch of kids on the, you know, on the fields and that rolling up their shorts, which is going to not be fun.
Yeah, I think you guys have kind of maybe misread El Dejo's point. I think he was maybe going more towards the hygienic point as opposed to kind of the sexual point. But anyway, so second question, Akid Alias asks, does Bellerin have a place in the first team this season? So I'm going to shoot again with you, James. What do you reckon?
Well, I was really impressed with him yesterday, and I thought, you know, Debuchy's going to have to perform really well, if obviously against Monaco, to keep his place, because I thought Bellerin looked like a starter for me yesterday, the way he played. But I thought Debuchy for me was my man of the match today. I thought he was fantastic, and he gets really stuck in. He's not a bad cross of the ball. I mean, he got caught out a few times, but it's a weird one for me. I mean, against Palace, you know, I think you go with the experience of Debuchy, but at the same time, you know, they're a team of big lads that aren't very quick, and with Bellerin's pace, I think he could cause them a few problems. But hey, you just don't know. I think he'll stick with the experience, though.
What do you reckon, Amanda?
What was the question?
Hector Bellerin, does he have a team in the first team squad this season? I mean,
does he have a place in the first team squad? Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, is he going to break
your teeth back in?
I mean, yeah, Jenkinson's out on loan. What's going to happen with Bellerin? Is he ready to step up?
Yeah. It was excellent yesterday. I think he's just one of these kids with natural talent. I just think, yes, definitely. It doesn't remind me of Zelalem, but of that sort of nature where I think they're going to make it. I've got no doubts. Where the likes of Sonogo and Jenkinson, I have doubts. I don't have doubts with those two. I was so pleased to see Zelalem today. But, yeah, I like Bellerin a lot. And I like Akpom as well. I can't remember if FK said sell him or loan him, but I like this Akpom. I think he's got brilliant talent as well.
No, I said I'd love to keep him, but I think we should loan him, because he's probably better off getting 30 games a season rather than 5 with us. No,
you're right. I agree with you. Definitely.
Now, I want to come to Ava and FK, because on a similar theme to kind of back up right back, Neil Mystery harumps, not adequate left back cover for Gibbo. Thoughts? ? And I know you mentioned it earlier, Ava, so what do you think we should do in terms of a left back replacement? Is Monreal the man?
I would love to see a new left back come in, or right now we have got completely different priorities, such as a defensive midfielder and possibly a striker. For now, Monreal will do, and I think if Gibbs can stay fit, we don't even need Monreal.
That's a big if. What about you, FK? What do you reckon, mate?
Look, man, Ava's the left back. If anyone knows left backs, it's her, because that's where she plays. But
she left me
for
back.
me, in the changing rooms. For me, I think, if Gibbs is fit, he is without question our first choice. I think it's always difficult for a fullback to come into a team and just play every now and again. I think that's where Jenkinson struggled. And actually what we saw with Jenko was when he was given 6 or 7 games in the team, he actually picked it up all right and eventually became quite decent. But with Monreal, I mean, look, you can't question his international credibility. He's a decent player. He's not going to be a 9 or a 10 out of 10 kind of left back, but he can do a job. But I think people have to remember, it's not like a tap where you can just turn it on and off. Players, they come in, they play a game here and there. It's really not good for their stability and But I think he's good enough to be back up without question.
Okay, and then one final listener question, and it comes from Orpheus Jones. Now, Orpheus, he kind of warns this is going to be a controversial one. So do you guys think we need to start signing players on positions rather than talent? He says Kafola, Özil and Alexis are all the best at playing number 10 just off of the striker. So do we try to convert too many players? What do you reckon, James?
That really is a toughie. I think the best thing that he's done is obviously with the players that have left or are planning to leave, he's got good cover for what they need to do. So obviously Sanya going, Debuchy comes in, Vermaelen, is he going, is he not going? But you got Chambers there that can play centre back, which I think will be his main role. I think he will be a sub centre back, Chambers. I can see him getting a few games at right back, but I really do think today and yesterday he looked so calm and so used to, like, he'd been playing centre back for Arsenal for years. I think he looks really natural there. But as far as that question goes, I don't know. I think now, like we've all said, he needs a natural defensive midfielder, which we all know is going to sit there and break up that play for the team. And then if I can dream for a striker, I want a proper out-and-out striker. I don't want one that can play on the wings, that can, play off the strikers. I want a really good, proper centre-forward, like a Ian Wrighty type centre-forward.
All right, and Amanda, so on this question, Arsene Wenger, he converted Henry from a winger to a striker, and at Monaco he converted Manuel Petit to a holding midfielder from a left-back. If he says Jack Wilshere can become a holding midfielder, is Arsene Wenger going to be able to turn him into one, or do you reckon we need to go out there, put 40 million on the table and buy a Sami Khedira?
Sami Khedira. I don't think Jack can do that.
No? And what about kind of the original question? Do you think in general then we need to start buying players for positions as opposed to players with talent?
I'm not the manager, and I'm not qualified to say that. I mean, he turned Henry, didn't he? So who are we to say? If he feels he can, and I'm quite concerned, not concerned, but interested to see what he's going to do with Sanchez. I still don't know if he's going to play him up front or a winger. All
right. What do you reckon, Ava? Is there anything you'd like to add on that?
Honestly, I don't think he can compare Jack, mainly because of his injury. But yeah, as Amanda said, who am I to judge? I mean, it's Arsene Wenger. I think he can do a lot of things, and he can convert a lot of players. I would love to see a proper DM come in. I would love to see additions to the squad in positions that we need, new players, because we need them now, not in 3 years.
Okay,
So,
and I mean, FK, you know as well as I do, we rejected Fabregas as someone on the basis that, Wenger felt we already had Özil in that position anyway. I mean, do you think realistically, if the club were offered someone where we're already strong in a position, we'd try and buy them and develop them into a different position anyway? Or do you think that Arsenal are now going to concentrate on buying the kind of one absolute player that we need in those specific, devoid positions?
I think Wenger's going to go out and buy the players that we need, and actually it's quite interesting. Firstly, by the way, Wenger said in his post-match conference today that Jack Wilshere, he doesn't see him as a defensive midfielder and he won't put him in that position. Our system only allows for one, and in certain games he might play two, and Jack might fall into that, but he doesn't see him as a DM in the long term.
Sorry, just to cut in, are you saying that the media chat bullshit about transfers?
Possibly, yes, quite possibly.
There you have it, listeners.
The other thing, Andrew, though, is you look at our recent transactions. I mean, it's interesting because over the last 2 years, I think Arsenal have probably brought more established players than we've ever known. And even I was chatting to Nigel about it today, that you look back at our best players that we've purchased over the years, and they've always been players that have been struggling in their own countries or struggling with form. Even Henry and Bergkamp, two classic examples where they were nowhere near at the top of their game. Whereas now, times have changed. We're getting the Ozils, we're getting the Sanchez's. We're bringing in Debuchy, £8 million for a 29-year-old right back. I mean, Wenger's gone mad. If you look at the last sort of 10 years of transfer activity, something's really changed. He's obviously still going to take punts, expensive punts like Callum Chambers, but you can't argue him in Podolski, Giroud, Cazorla, Monreal. These are all established players in their established positions, and I don't think he's tried to change them too much. The only player that I can think he's changed in recent times and done it really well was Mikel Arteta. When he came in, he was much more of an offensive player, played much higher up the pitch for Everton, but he came in and did a very, good job in the deep for us. So I think he's going to go out and I think he'll buy what he needs. I personally can't see him buying an orthodox sitting defensive midfielder. I think the days of having someone like Claude Makelele just sitting are gone. I think it's almost a waste of a player because the game has changed so much now. And I think our midfield needs to be so fluid that you can make box-to-box midfielders work as long as they work in an organised way, as long as it's not just open chaos. And people always tell me things like, we miss a Gilberto, but I must remember watching the wrong Gilberto. He was box-to-box, in my opinion. He was physically strong, up and down that pitch, great engine, but he worked in tandem with Patrick Vieira. That's why it works so well. So for me, I think he's going to get a central midfielder who is capable of playing box-to-box and also capable of playing deep, but not an orthodox DM.
Okay then, guys. So I'm going to ask you all, which one position do we need to purchase a player in this summer, and who's the player for that position? Amanda?
Oh, I've said it about 4 times. Defensive midfielder. And that position, do you know what? I don't know. I don't know who I would bring in. I don't know.
Right.
Patrick Vieira, please.
That's fine. I'm sure.
Gilberto. I think Gilberto was one of the most underrated players that we ever had. But anyway, that's another story. Come.
I think some of the way the fans are reacting today, some of them probably do believe a 50-year-old Vieira would do a better job than a 25-year-old Mikel Arteta when they were at their peak.
I agree.
James, who would you bring in and in what position?
Well, I still want a striker as well, but first and foremost, you've got to get a central defensive midfielder, and it's got to be Sami Khedira for me. I think Schneiderlin's blown it now with wanting to go up the road and just being a bit of a baby, really. I think being a bit of a baby. None of us really like our jobs, and if we go in there thinking they're going to let us go easy, they never let you go easy. If they want to keep you, they're going to keep you. I think he was a bit childish with that, but no, for me, Sami Khedira, that he protects Ozil like his little brother. Don't let anybody touch him, don't let anybody near him. And, he breaks play and he chips in with some goals as well. So I think he's the ideal man for it.
What do you reckon, Ava? Does Ozil need a big brother?
No, I mean, if he wants to protect anyone, he should start protecting Jack Wilshere because I don't want him injured anymore. I do agree, a defensive midfielder, hopefully Khedira. Though if I could have my wish, it would be Marco Reus, but we don't really need him right now. So defensive midfielder.
And what about you, FK?
Well, Fantasyland stuff, I would have Pogba in central midfield because he's the bollocks. But then part of me, just like Eva says, go out and get Marco Reus. You might concede 2 or 3, but you'll score 7 or 8 with Reus, Walcott, Sanchez, Ozil in the team. Realistically, I think Khedira suits us all day long. Not just because he's German, but because he's a brilliant player of great calibre, reasonably priced because of his last year of contract, very versatile, box to box. And he's a nutcase. You saw him on the touchline for Germany, screaming and howling and shouting from the touchline. I mean, that's the sort of thing that I want in midfield. And bottom line, if you're looking for Arsenal to take the next step, i.e. winning the Premier League, going that one step further in the Champions League, you need someone who's got a winner's mentality. And as much as I like Schneiderlin, as much as I like Pogba, you've got a guy here who's won World Cups, Champions League, La Liga titles, and that counts for a lot. So to have someone like Khedira for the likes of Ramsey and Jack to kind of look up to and have as a bit of an inspiration often on the field, I think he'd be a great acquisition for us, and I'm confident that we'd get someone like him.
All right, and I just to have one final question from you guys. What was in one sentence, your moment of the Emirates Cup? James?
Sonogo dance. I want it to be the new Sturridge for Arsenal fans. I want people who are fans of other clubs to hate it. So I want to retweet it every time it happens, every Vine, every GIF. I want it going global.
All right, you can trademark that. FK, what was your moment, mate?
Oh man, it's a difficult one because obviously Sonogo's he's the talk of the town at the moment. I think for me, just it was nice to see a young English centre back at Arsenal. So I've got to go for Callum Chambers again. I thought there was a couple of sliding challenge. I love a sliding challenge. That's how I played football when I was at school, when I was in midfield, and he went straight into a challenge, clean tackle. There's something about having a young English lad at the back of our defence, and for me, he was just the moment of the tournament for me. He really lit up, and he's got a real bright future.
the razor relic of North London FK. How about you, Eva? What was your one moment in a sentence?
Stop mispronouncing my name, for fuck's sake.
Ava.
Thank you. Sonogo slip was quite amusing, but I think my moment was, and I know this doesn't really count, but I have to say it, was seeing Gibbs wearing the number 3.
All right.
Great shout. Yeah.
How about you, Amanda?
I don't know. I'm a bit with FK because I really, really, really like Chambers, and I love the fact that he's English and brings me back memories of the 80s of our English defence. I think he's slotted in quite well. I wasn't there yesterday. I watched the no-go dance, and that was good. Just the general feeling around the ground. You've noticed that there are no Arsene Wenger out protest brigades going on. I feel like we're as one. Where the last 2 or 3 years we've not. It's been completely split and sort of not a vile atmosphere, but you either had to be on one side or the other, and I never was. I was always in the middle. So for me now, it seems a jolly atmosphere. I think that's one of the things that I'll take away from today.
Awesome. I think for me, it was with all the youngsters there. My old man goes to all the games with me, and he clearly didn't know who Bellerin was. So at one point, when Bellerin was having his fast forward paced diminutive runs, he shouted in his Scottish accent, "Go on, young un!" Because he clearly didn't have a Scooby who it was, and he kept calling him young in all game, which I thought was pretty funny. Cool. So anyway, just before we go, I want to have a shout out to the away boys, who very kindly gave a young fan who was probably no older than 4 years old, jumping around on his dad's shoulders, the new Free album, which has recently come out. And they'll be playing at the Green Man next Sunday ahead of the Community Shield final against Man City. It will be £2 on the door, and make sure you get there before midday if you want to see them live in action. Have you got any shout-outs you'd like to give?
I'll give one to my mate Tom. He's at Bachelor on Twitter. It's his birthday today. He come with me. I know it weren't the best result for you, Tom, but I hope you had a good day, mate.
How about the rest of you? FK, Ava, Amanda?
Yeah, I'll give one out to my mate, Rich Laverty. So he's at Rich J Laverty, Laverty. He's the guy who got me into the media pass today at Arsenal, and he's just a great guy, and he's got a wicked online monthly football magazine, so check it out.
Awesome. How about you, ladies?
Yes, I do. I'm going to give it to the French John at Nightsack _ because he always fills me in on all the French players, and he's teaching me French. So thank you, John.
Merci. Amanda?
Well, I have to give it to my girls, Kate and Kate at Goonergirls _ We're back recording this week for our beginning pre-season podcast, and we've missed everybody. So go and follow us and keep it Arsenal.
And if any of you want to get in touch and use the the Gooner Girls, they're surprisingly affordable. So and they will do any pod. Cool. So
I wonder what you were going to say then.
Okay. Then
we're not very cheap. We're not cheap, but we're cheerful.
You're affordable, so within reason. They only do Arsenal posts, so none of this Spurs crap. Anyway,
well, funny you should say that. But anyway, go on.
They will do anything. So any business though. No, it's been a pleasure to have you all on tonight. Thank you, Ava. Thank you, FK. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, James. And thank you to the listeners. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So really appreciate that. I've been Andrew PR _ Huru. You've been the listeners. This has been an AFTV podcast. Good night.